And so, greetings and welcome to another edition of the Inside Out podcast. Once again, I'm Barry Samuel. It's a real pleasure to be with you. And I'm in the northern climate right now, the northern hemisphere, where, the axis on our planet is such that we're experiencing shorter days and precipitation, freezing rain, snowfall, and I'm coming to you from the comfort of my own home while the streets are being plowed with the latest blanket of soft snowfall, leaving about 1 to 2 inches at last check. Hope this finds you well, and it's exciting to be with you again for another edition of the Inside Out podcast, where it's all becoming the best version of yourself to achieve your optimal life. And last time got into a bit of discussing about being bold and brave, finding your voice. And it's really interesting because where I am in the country of Canada, we have a big campaign coming up this week on mental health and the Let's Talk mental health campaign to end the stigma. So I want to give a special, warm, and heartfelt shout out to all you brave warriors out there who are fighting the good fight. And this has been my experience in terms of observation and firsthand experiences to know that you're not alone, we're not alone in raising awareness to champion mental health as something that's invisible, that you can't see on the outside, which in no way should diminish the profound depth of trauma or shame, of pain, anxiety that lives within us 24/7, 365 days a year. And through last year's Spring into Action Walk and Run for Mental Health in 2018, proud to be organizer of that event and to champion mental health and have the conversation. And so I just want to give a shout out to that Let's Talk campaign. It's such a beautiful thing, bringing people together, because that's what it's all about, is finding connection, a sense of community, and creating an environment that feels like a safe environment where you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to always feel like you're fighting the good fight, that you're actually all putting the oar in and pulling downstream, or what feels like downstream, which is contrary to what we feel so often, that we do feel alone and isolated. So, thinking about all the beautiful people out there who have been fighting the good fight, and let's make a difference. Let's create a safe environment, free of judgment, and the stigma. So hashtag Let's Talk. And so my week was a busy one. Feeling energized. Actually got about, only about 5 hours sleep last night. I came in late and I felt like I wanted to have a little party for one. And so I was tempted to, to go into the kitchen, to the cupboard in the top corner there. We keep all the shouldn't haves, emergency only, excessive processed foods and gluttonous selections. And so I found myself with a little bit of self-control in that way, and I still had something. Not too bad at all. So I felt satisfied, and after kind of passing out on the couch, which it's actually been a number of years since I've had the luxury to do that. Kind of a funny anecdote to share with you. I'm happy to do that. I'm kind of amusing myself right now just sharing this with you. Is probably in real time about 40-45 minutes past while the TV streaming was watching me, as the expression goes. So I picked myself up and hobbled over to the bedroom and entered Sandman. Is that the proper expression? In the Urban Dictionary? A little Metallica reference there. So today, on this edition of the podcast, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. Mainly, channeling your motivation, becoming unstuck, and healing the hurt. Healing the hurt. So it's been on my mind, basically the connection between the becoming unstuck and the motivation. I'm kind of thinking to myself as I want to talk to you about the intersection of these three pieces. And healing the hurt, I guess, is where it all starts, with a bit of insight. And through my experience and practice, a couple of decades working privately with clients and just observing people in general and my own experiences, that healing the hurt is something that comes over time with self-awareness, with positive supportive guidance. And let me tell you more specifically in terms of imagery, something that is really going to strike a chord with you, is I want you to consider, as you think about becoming the best version of yourself and setting growth goals for this year, is backing up and doing the introspection and healing the hurt. None of us comes through this journey unscathed. You may think that, but none of us do. And so this is a small exercise I want to lead you in that has such a deeply impactful effect on my own personal well-being, and that is to reflect back for a moment on your childhood. growing up. And I want you to imagine yourself today going back and meeting up with your old self. And not just any time period in your life history, but I want you to find yourself between the ages of 5 and maybe up to 8 years old, no more than that. And I want you to imagine that you get down on one knee and you very lovingly and softly take the hands of your old self, in fact, your impressionable, formative, golden-hearted, awe-inspired for life 5-year-old, 6-year-old self, and gently cast your gaze into that 5 or 6-year-old self of yours. Smile with your beautiful, warm smile, opening your heart and being in the moment. And take a breath in this comfortable atmosphere that you imagine yourself in. Picture yourself on a summer's day, sort of a quiet pasture, tree. It's warm, it's an inviting atmosphere. The conditions are loving and perfect for this tender moment. And the next step in this visualization exercise is to drink in your old self in terms of letting everything wash over you as you look back at yourself. And it's obviously a very powerful sense to engage the feeling, the smell of the environment around you, what the sounds are, this whole visceral effect of really being present with your younger childhood self, and that person unscarred, yet unsure and afraid. And I want you in that position of gently feeling the sense of the hands of your younger self. And I imagine in some ways, if you have a young child or raised children, it's kind of the same idea. And with the intent, with the open-heartedness, that warm visual embrace, you're looking softly, you're going to tell yourself just this phrase. It's going to be okay. Everything is going to be all right. And don't lose faith. And just pause with the visual and what it feels like to have that moment of interaction in your mind, in your body, with your younger self. Realizing what a golden opportunity this is to reconcile the pain and the hurt that started way, way back. And now you have the opportunity to forgive, to heal, and to let go. And that's the tender moment healing exercise that I want to offer you for today. I hope that you're able to embrace and feel a sense of stimulation through that, and don't feel any shame if you are feeling a bit emotional about this moment, because it's impossible. It's virtually humanly impossible not to be profoundly touched by this notion. Because the reality is that every day we walk around and we protect that same person. And it's something that we have cultivated and maintained as a foundation of fear. And it's time to reconcile it, to say it's okay. It's okay to feel the fear. It's okay to have the wounds and the scars that have helped make us stronger. And it's okay to kind of embrace those things, those feelings, those moments and experiences that we had, that are part of our history, that make us who we are. And it's an opportunity to share it with others in a positive and meaningful way so that they can be wiser for it. So I'm feeling kind of impassioned about the idea of this exercise of what it means right now, what it meant this past week, what it means with the snow falling, with the sun shining, with the rain coming down, and the darkness and the loneliness, wherever you're at. It's all part of our emotional continuum, that there shouldn't be blame and shame. And just as a side, just to add a little bit of color here, when I was 17 years old and playing hockey on the street with friends, we were having fun and we were shining. And that's, and it's the moments that are seamless now, when we can project that inner child without the fear, because all we do is we walk around with the armor. We're on guard. We're ready for the rejection. We're ready for the failure. And we're so busy protecting ourselves that we close things off. So just want to remind you to try to keep things open. And the mention about playing hockey as a younger teenage boy, wasn't completely random. I just want to illustrate, when you're doing something that you love, it seems timeless. and you shine. You're the best version of yourself. So there was a particular period of time with the friends that we all played together growing up. And I remember we were goofing around and we came up with this expression, it's a blame and shame. And it's interesting how from just loose, free feeling funny times comes something that's actually, blame and shame. We are good at doing that, blaming ourselves, shaming ourselves. So I want you to think about shining through, being a light for yourself and for others, and really think about that exercise. So I want to move along because I think I had identified 3 bits that I wanted to talk about today. And the other piece, before we talk about motivation on this edition of the podcast, again, I'm Barry Samuel, founder of InsideOut, and it's an honor to share with you my experience from the last couple decades of practice. Just trying to support people on their journey and leveraging training in academics in psychology and kinesiology, basically, a mind-body approach. And so becoming unstuck as we set our life goals and our non-New Year's resolutions, because they never work. Really, we want to be ready for change and create something that's sustainable, that's going to fulfill us, that represents our core values. And fear gets in our way. And I've just tried to create a very profound insight that I hope that you'll be able to draw some measure of progress from, is that when we carry around with us on a daily basis out into the world, into our professional selves and that persona, into our intimate relationships, into our friendships, into family, engaged citizen, it's pervasive. The fact that we hold ourselves back feeling fear. And in order to truly move forward is to understand that the importance of that previous exercise, to become unstuck and to kind of open up this myriad of colors, of possibilities for yourself for moving forward and making it happen. Because it's always been a thought in our head. Maybe we scratched it in our notebook. Maybe we put it in our smartphone in our note section. And then another note in another note section, and pretty soon we have a pile of note sections and notes which cumulatively have that amazingly over a span of a year, and pretty soon a couple of decades of that same undone goal and passion. And so what's the missing link? What's holding us back? So I want you just to, consider that becoming unstuck is to really, letting things go and understanding how to kind of be kind and gentle with yourself, and don't do the blame and shame routine. You know, have compassion for yourself in addition to your community and environment. And so here's the third piece in today's triad, if you will. We started off by kind of looking at the powerful effect on our psyche, carrying around our scared and wounded old self, and how that relates to, for a long time, not being able to move forward and feeling fearful and stuck, and basically it becomes the default new norm. And so we got to run some interference on that. It's not useful for us if we're making our life goals and trying to optimize our experience, to change, to grow, to stretch. And so if you are setting a goal, which we should be doing on a regular and daily basis, whether it's a micro level or macro level, we're basically talking about something that you want to achieve this month, whether it be material, academic, physical fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, habits, behaviors, career, romance and intimacy, adventure, finances, as always, academics, your study, your performance. Moving forward, it needs a goal. It needs a weekly goal, and it needs we need daily goals, and we need to, you know, check in on those goals and be accountable, and find a coach that will help support us. And so I want to talk about the last topic in today's triad. It's a little bit of alliteration there. And that is, again, motivation, and what is motivation? I want to suggest to you that it's elusive, it's an illusion, it's fleeting, and it's often not stable. It's not a foundation in terms of looking at functional progressive steps that will help us toward our goal. We know that stages of change happen from pre-contemplation to contemplation to readiness to planning to action and execution to potential relapse. And it relates very much to this idea of motivation. If I'm sparked that I want to get a certain car, I want to get a certain job, certain income, have a kind of a relationship that I've been looking for, I want to have a traveling lifestyle. It's great to be sparked by that. We need to begin, as they say, with the end in mind and with a plan. And so it's great to write down on a piece of paper and again And then pretty soon, we become self-sabotaging because we've consistently, perpetually given up hope because we forgot about that fear, and that we've defaulted into the fear and really brooding in this pain, and it bubbles up, and we push it back down because we're wearing the armor and we're not open. And there's no love where there's armor. And what is life without feeling free and feeling love, giving, sharing, receiving? Yes, it is a privilege. Not all parts of the world are fortunate enough. And we want to be mindful and think of these people and remind ourselves how grateful we are to have this opportunity to be in this moment where we can take that one brave step forward. As I talked about in the last podcast, you can take that one brave step forward. So motivation, again, in theory, is a magical thing. It gets the biochemistry of the brain feeling great about the prospect, and it's a positive thing. That's why the idea of a New Year's resolution is the quintessential, schema. It's the quintessential classic moment to really see the variety of motivations that we all have, which are all well and good. You want to cut calories, you want a new relationship, you want to manage expenses and finances. You want to be organized and tidy. I recognize that I could use some help with that. I've embraced the notion of that. So let's not make it fleeting. In the way that we can take a first brave step towards motivation being sparked to change and growth and stretching ourselves and really experiencing and enriching our lives is to start with being introspective. First exercise that we ran through in terms of healing the hurt with our younger, I keep wanting to say old, but really our younger self that we hold so close, that we truly do hold on to, when really we should be setting it free, is to say that we're actually ready to achieve a goal. That's what motivation should be redefined as, is that we're ready to achieve a goal, and that is to make a plan. And so I really worry, I must admit, and I caution when I hear about New Year's resolutions, when I hear about people creating all these levels of excitement and getting excited about the excitement. It's such an amazing, euphoric thing, but I'm also, from experience, very cautious about how to put into context the idea of being in the here and now and realistically looking at what the first step is towards a goal, i.e. your motivation. So any of those things mentioned, being organized, being physically fit, taking care of your nutrition, your romance, intimacy, family relationships, finances, being organized. I may have repeated myself. Going on adventures, feeling free, and setting up regular goals is great. One at a time, and have it align with a healthy lifestyle. And that will just keep feeding into itself. The right habits and behaviors, and setting up a smart goal. And so setting up those measurable, realistic, and timed goals that, great, you're putting them in your smartphone and you're writing them down on a piece of paper. That is a brilliant step. And it's basically a pre-step, is you got to really crystallize and visualize what it is you want to achieve, but importantly, you need to be ready and wholly committed to it. So that's a little something I wanted to share for today. And taking your brave step, self-contract, and seek out a coach. And I'm here to support and cheerlead and help you in any way that I can. If it's of interest, you can reach out to me, certainly. You can send me an email by all means to Barry, that's BARRY, at InsideOutStudio.ca. BARRY at InsideOut, like the podcast, studio.ca. And I want to wish you a brave first step forward in shifting, doing one small positive step, taking one progressive move for yourself this week. So I look forward to talking to you next week on the Inside Out podcast, becoming the best version of yourself to achieve your life goals and changing your lifestyle and getting on the course and healing, becoming unstuck, and channeling your motivation, getting on the right course. So whether you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you're listening with your earbuds, or you're somewhere in the car, at home, playing in the background the podcast, once again, it's a real honor to be with you, and we'll talk to you again soon. I hope you have just an awesome day and an awesome week. We'll talk to you again soon.